Pete, always a pleasure to start. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Mad Dog, how are you, buddy?
How you doing, Peter? How things going? You feel good? You ready to go?
Yeah, we're good. We're ready to go. It's been good. You know, we got some teams are playing tonight. We actually got an extra day just to get everything dialed in for our guys, so it was good. It's good starting at home. 3 years now in the past, we haven't started a series at home, not one time, so it's really good to, have that where you're going to start in your own building.
It's funny. In previous runs in the postseason, especially last year, nobody really thought Nashville was good enough to get all the way to a cup final. And this year, you're the number one seed. I mean, obviously, you're a big favorite. Everybody loves your team. You will somehow figure out a way to get to the Stanley Cup for a lot of different franchises, to the finals. Some pressure on Nashville, some expectations. Give me the thoughts on the different preparation standpoint based on expectations this year and then coming out of the weeds in previous years, Peter. How do you handle that?
Well, we're just going to keep looking at what we've been looking at all year. I mean, we finished like you said, we came out of a lower seed last year, made it to the finals. We were playing really good down the stretch before the playoffs even started. We were doing the right things as a team. I think we felt really confident in a group. We've really grown. If you just look at the trajectory over the last 3 years, I think we've grown into that final stretch last year, and then certainly into the playoffs where we made it to the finals. And I don't think it was by chance. I think it was by design, and I think the guys played really well. And so we go into the summer, and the guys are real disappointed about the ending last year. And I think this year, again, is just part of that trajectory of guys staying focused. They got far down the road. They wanted to do their best to they set some goals within the season, and we wanted to win our division. We wanted to make sure we guaranteed ourselves some home ice to give us the best chance of being successful, and they've really kept their eye on the ball. So as we go into it this year, we're not the noise of what's being said, whether we're a favorite, whether we're not a favorite, whether or not somebody's a good player that we're playing against, or whether or not we're a good team. None of that really matters. We're just going to focus on the game itself, because at the end of the day, two teams are going to play tomorrow night at Bridgestone Arena, and the one that plays the best is going to be successful. So we're trying to focus just on our game and how we play.
All right, how did you handle the end of the year for your team? You give people some time off. You wanted to peak at the right time. How did you prepare the last, say, 6-7 games as a coach? You take a little pedal off the metal. Pete, how did you handle the last 6-7 games of the year for the Predators?
I thought we were, from about 12 games out, we knew, we saw where the writing on the wall. And so at one point, once the playoffs were kind of solidified, because that's the first objective, I think, when it comes to the regular season, is you got to make it back. You got to be 1 of 16. It doesn't matter where you sit. And we ended up adding Mike Fisher, and we got a guy back from injury, and we ended up picking up a trade at the deadline, and we picked up Tolvanen, and so had some extra bodies coming around. We didn't rest anybody, and that's evident. For me, that's evident in the last game when nothing could be moved. We had secured first place in the league. We didn't. The only person that came out of the lineup was Arvidsson, and that was a maintenance thing. And that's kind of the word we used down the stretch. There were guys that probably could have played, but probably could have benefited from the day off, just from the wear and tear on the body. So we didn't take anybody out of the lineup per se. Like Roman Josi didn't come out, and we had a plan in place with the goalies, and we played everybody that was available and healthy down the stretch. We wanted to be doing the right things when we hit it at the end, and I thought our guys did a good job of that. We had to keep winning because Boston kept winning, Winnipeg kept winning, Tampa Bay kept winning, Toronto kept winning. So there was teams that were doing their thing. We had to keep doing our thing.
All right, so bottom line is, though, you wanted the top seed. That was a goal. It wasn't just the top seed in the West. You wanted the top seed overall, so you wanted to make sure you secured that in the regular season. Correct, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, there was talk at the beginning of the year of really trying to focus in on the regular season and do our best and win the amount of games that we could. And so with that, along the way, certain things are going to fall, whether it's your division, winning your division, or winning your Western Conference, or, setting a record for wins for the franchise. Like, there was a lot of things that fell. They were never about necessarily those things. They were about winning hockey games and trying to be a successful team, trying to play the right way at the right time of the year. So I think our leadership did a really good job, Mad Dog. Like the leaders in the room, when we did hit a bump, we were never off the track for too long. We were always got right back on track, and ultimately that's what you want as a coach. You want a group of guys that are happy with something and the way it's going, and then they kind of they corral everybody and they get the train back on the tracks and moving in the direction. So I think the reason why we continue to find success was because the leadership in the room allowed that to happen.
There you go, and here you are now sitting, getting ready for the Avalanche. Did you watch that last game, Game 82, knowing you were going to play the winner? Did you not worry about it? Yeah, it was a playoff atmosphere, as we all know, there at in Denver on Saturday night. Did Peter Laviolette watch that game between Blues and Avalanche to decide who's the eighth seed?
Yeah, I mean, we watched some of it. Obviously, we're watching it now as far as like pre-scouting and everything that we need to do with them. And it was good. It was a tough hand for St. Louis, having to play that game the night before because it was such a big game. Everybody's dealt with back-to-backs through the course of the year, but you'd never want to see a back-to-back where it meant whether or not you were going to qualify for the playoffs. So they got dealt a tough hand, but it was a good game. You got to give Colorado a lot of credit. They played really well down the stretch. They played well in the second half. They're a fast team. They're a young team. They're led by McKinnon and that top line. They're really dangerous, and so they present a lot of challenges, and it's not a fluke that they made it to the playoffs. They had just a tremendous turnaround from the year past, so you got to give them a lot of credit.
Oh, no question about it. What an incredible turnaround. Last year they were horrendous, and this year here they are now, getting ready to play Nashville. Let's give them credit for that. All right, but you're not going to worry about it, Pete. You're going to go out there. You're going to play your game. You got a good goalie. You can be opportunistic. You got a good defense. You're going to go out there and play your game, and you adjust as you're moving along. But you're not going to sit there and prepare here necessarily for Colorado. You're going to do what Nashville does well, which we saw last year here as this first series unfolds, correct?
You got to get into this coaching thing, Mad Dog. You got to figure
Not bad,
out.
Right? Not bad.
No, that's
right.
not bad. It's actually pretty well point on. We always give information. Like we don't ever want to be surprised by anything that the opposition might be doing. So we try to get them as much information, and that's what was great about being at home here and just even having the extra day because some teams are playing tonight. It really allowed us the opportunity just to get information of the players. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. You want to go out on the ice and you worked. You would like to think that you worked all year at putting an identity to your team and how you want to play and how you're going to navigate the ice and how you're going to be successful as a team. Now, at this point here, when it comes to tomorrow, you want to open the door and let them out and really see if that identity can come through because ultimately that is the way it happens. Your team can do more of what they do than the opposition. There's a good chance you're going to win a hockey game.
Indeed. Are you shocked that Vegas had such a good year, Peter?
I think, to be honest, I think everybody was a little bit shocked at the beginning because you didn't know exactly who they were or what they were going to be capable of. I think after you watched them play, and it didn't take a very long time, you started to see that they were a really good hockey team. That they were fast, and it's not that teams were taking them lightly. I think it was that they were a good team. They were young, they were fast, they moved the puck well. They had great energy in their building. The trips we made out to Vegas were fantastic. But I really think that they got here because they earned it. It wasn't that the league took them lightly this year. It was they were a terrific team. They were put together well. They were well coached, and they had a really good year. I think. I mean, if you'd be lying, right? If you didn't say that you were a little bit surprised, way back in October that they started, but by November, you weren't surprised anymore. You saw a team that you knew was going to make the playoffs and knew was going to be hard to handle if you had to play them.
What did you learn last year? You played very well that Pittsburgh series. I thought Game 1 was very significant. You could have won that game easy. Yeah. Obviously Game 6 you had a chance too. What did Peter Laviolette? You've been around now a long time. You've won a Cup, Carolina. Obviously Flyers game in a Stanley Cup final. What did your team learn? What did you learn about losing to Pittsburgh in 6 last year?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, I really think that we look at last year and we understand that there's an experience that's gone to our club. From 3 years because we've had the core here. Ekholm's been here, Ellis has been here, Forsberg's been here, Fiala has been here, Arvidsson, Pekka Rinne, Roman Josi. Our guys have been here. We've added some pieces and we've changed some pieces along the way, but the core has been here. Since I've been here, and this is my 4th year, and you look at just the growth of it. We were very inexperienced when we played Chicago a few years ago. We lost in the first round. Our young guys played really good. We ended up losing Fisher and Weber early on in that series. The next year, we won a Game 7. We lost a Game 7. Those are experiences that help, I think, build us to who we are and what we are today. Last year's run in the playoffs, it leaves us disappointed with the result, but you can't argue the experience that we gained as a group. This year's, coming off of that, this year's regular season run. So everything to me, like I said, we're trying to get to the end here, and the experiences that we've gained along the way from a very inexperienced team, I think, are going to be valuable. All that being said, Mad Dog, all that being said, you know it like I know it. You got to go out and do it in the playoffs, and so nothing matters. None of that. We can use those experiences, but when the puck drops tomorrow, they're going to be fighting for something. We're going to be fighting for something, and it's going to come down to a game by game outcome as to who moves on. So you got to do the right things inside of a series. If you don't, anybody can go home, whether you're the first seed or the 16th seed.
Doesn't make any difference in the NHL, as we saw last year with you guys. Last thing, Peter, how about the city? We all saw the love affair that matured here last year with the great run that you guys had. Has it been the same thing? Is there 3,000 people outside that arena every night in the regular season? I know it's a big party tomorrow night on the eve of the postseason. Give me a little rundown. Now, you obviously Boston, Islanders, so you've seen the big Northeast cities. How about Nashville right now? How about the enthusiasm in this second run for Nashville for tomorrow night? Let me get a sense of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, Mad Dog. Like what you saw last year in the playoffs. It's not like that. I mean, they didn't shut the street down on a Tuesday night in mid-December because 200,000 people or 100,000 people, whatever the number was. They weren't out in the street waiting just to cheer on the Preds. We have an incredible fan base here, and we're sold out in season tickets now, and the sellouts that have gone on in a row, and our fans are spectacular. The city is spectacular, and it's been awesome to watch this thing grow here. It really showed itself, I think, in the playoffs last year with the amount of people and the kind of this country star power that got behind it, made it pretty cool. And Luke Bryan singing on top of Tootsies, and the people singing the anthems, and the people out in the streets and shutting down the roads and the watch parties. It was awesome. I mean, for nothing I've ever seen. Like you said, I'm from Boston, and I coached in Philly and I coached in New York, so I've coached in some big places. But the support that was here for the Predators from our city, from our fan base, was unbelievable. We've got to do our work here. Let's be honest. If we don't do our work, then the party's over. We got to make sure that we're doing our work on the ice. If we do it and we continue to move on, that sport will be here for us again.
Oh, looking forward to it, Peter. Thanks for so much time. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow night for Game 1. Appreciate you coming on today.
Good talking to you, Mad Dog. Take care, buddy.
Okay, Peter Laviolette. Good to have him with us. Nashville, the Cup favorite. We got a lot to do. Lou Lamoriello is next. We'll do a little Blue. We'll do a little Leafs and Bruins, an original 6 series. Your calls, too. 888 Mad Dog 6. So back right after that.